Hey, everybody. So, David Brock is the founder of Media Matters for America and Correct the Record. During the election, many people believe that Correct the Record was essentially a trolling and character attack firm to support Hillary Clinton's campaign. So, David Brock, some researchers believe, is behind an even more vicious firm post election, which is using, according to some people, using made up accounts to infiltrate communities on Reddit and Vote and even on Twitter to slow the spread of discussion and legitimate research surrounding Pizzagate. And just to clarify, Pizzagate is not the claim that there's some secret basement below a pizza shop in DC and that Hillary Clinton goes there to torture and kill young kids. That is not what Pizzagate is about. That is the fake version that the corporate media quickly spun up and then quickly tried to debunk. But the real Pizzagate is the fact that in John Podesta's emails are numerous references to pizza, hot dogs, and walnut sauce, which researchers believe are in fact references to different sorts of underage children. And Comet Pizza is mentioned in John Podesta's emails, so there is a link there. And Hillary Clinton has written a thank you to Comet Pizza for holding fundraisers there. So Comet Pizza is not some incidental random finding, but to be sure, none of the legitimate people covering Pizzagate, myself included, furthered the notion that there was some secret basement where children were being murdered. That was something the mainstream media and various illegitimate sources tried to spin up in order to discredit this whole scandal. So where does David Brock really come into all of this? David Brock at Media Matters, that's something that he founded. Media Matters has been unusually vicious toward any journalist talking about Pizzagate, any journalist surfacing it to their audience, including Ben Swan, a very well-respected journalist at CBS 46 in Atlanta. So Media Matters is one of the things that he created and founded. He also founded Correct the Record and Share Blue. Correct the Record was, during the election, a character attack and trolling firm designed to increase non-organic online support for Hillary Clinton. A less friendly way of saying that is that they were sock puppet accounts attacking people who did not support Hillary or who supported Donald Trump. Now, some people believe that Brock's current firm, his current project, is behind a wave of accounts on Reddit and Vote and even on Twitter who are disrupting legitimate discussion and research into the Pizzagate emails and into the companies and individuals that may be linked to this important scandal. Now, just over the last couple days, shortly after somebody warned me that I was going to be the subject of what's known as a character assassination on the internet, a number of accounts that I have not interacted with before in any way and which don't seem to have a long history on the internet have demanded greater transparency into what I do here and into how I do my research. And I'm happy to provide that transparency, which is why I uploaded yesterday's video. Is everything I'm doing as a human being and a journalist and a man, is everything I'm doing for the past nearly decade simply an attempt to promote an out-of-print internet marketing textbook that I wrote while in college, and the book which I don't even make any money off of, again, because it's out of print? Is everything I'm doing an attempt to promote that book? Well, I addressed that in the last video. Is everything I'm doing as a human being and journalist an attempt to increase my affiliate program revenue from various affiliate programs I work with? Well, I also addressed that in the last video. And I don't mind doing that. I'm happy to provide transparency. I believe that sunlight is the best disinfectant. And so, David Brock, if you're out there watching this today, go ahead and open up your heart and let the light in. Let that sunshine in. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. So there's a website. On this website, the Citizens Audit, they claim that David Brock's Media Matters has hidden $1,052,500 from the Internal Revenue Service since 2010. Now, the article states, and this has been covered elsewhere, but I found the Citizens Audit to be the most in-depth piece of reporting on this subject. So here's what they have to say on this. They uncovered financial statements which expose Media Matters. The organization received $1,052,500 in sublet rental income from 2010 to 2014, but failed to report this income to the IRS. And I'll just remind viewers right now that it is a chargeable offense to intentionally not report taxable income. The article states instead, key players pocketed this money for their own personal use. Now I'm just going to read part of the article. It is a long article. To give them credit, I'll link to it below. I would encourage you to read the whole thing. It's very interesting. Here we go. Quote, David Brock, recently described by Politico as the Democrats' dark arts master, has some explaining to do. His organization, Media Matters for America, has failed to report to the IRS over $1 million in sublet rental income from 2010 to 2014. David Brock and his allies are most likely pocketing that money for themselves. Now, just to be clear here, this is not my claim. This is not the claim of this channel. These are claims posted over on the Citizens Audit, and a number of other news sources, including Zero Hedge, have covered this story. It says Media Matters shares office space with 13 separate organizations. The 13 organizations are documented in a previous report. Media Matters holds the lease to the 6th floor of the 455 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest in Washington, D.C., and other organizations sublease space from Media Matters. For example, here's a rent payment American Bridge 21st Century made to Media Matters in 2014. There's nothing wrong with over a dozen organizations sharing office space, but there's a lot wrong with how Media Matters fails to report their sublet rental income to the IRS. Financial statements for Media Matters. Audited financial statements for Media Matters from 2007 to 2014 can be found in the Massachusetts Nonprofit Document Search Database using the following credentials, and then it gives you Media Matters account number and their federal tax ID so that you can look up this information for yourself and confirm it if you wish to do so. The article states, in comparison to Media Matters IRS Form 990 annual returns, these financial statements provide much more insight into how Media Matters operates. By comparing these two sets of documents, we discovered how David Brock and his allies are pocketing sublet rental income. And again, let me remind viewers that it is a chargeable offense and illegal to hide your taxable income from the Internal Revenue Service. And let me also remind viewers, not to be cheeky here, it's my understanding that the Trump administration's Internal Revenue Service does provide a sizable bounty or reward for individuals who contact their tip line and provide information on criminal tax evasion, which leads to money being recovered. So let's go ahead and continue reading the Citizens Audit Report. They say, here's what's happening. This report will focus on fiscal year 2014. Media Matters is claiming two separate values for occupancy expenses in 2014. To the IRS, Media Matters is claiming a total occupancy expense of $924,454 and a sublet rental income of $0. In their financial statements, Media Matters is claiming total occupancy expenses of $1,214,454 and sublet rental income of $290,000. Here's how. Media Matters reported to the IRS in 2014 that their occupancy expenses were $924,454. And you can see they took a screenshot there of that part of their return. IRS instructions state, do not net any rental income received from leasing or subletting rented space against the amount reported on line 16 for occupancy expenses. However, Media Matters 2014 financial statements show that the reported occupancy expenses of $924,454 includes net of sublease income of approximately $290,000. And if you want to look at all this yourself, again, I'm linking to it in the description below. This means that Media Matters broke IRS guidelines. Already, this uncovers a massive discrepancy. Media Matters claimed to the IRS in 2014 that their total occupancy expenses in 2014 were $924,454. Media Matters claimed in their 2014 financial statements that their total occupancy expenses were $1,214,454. Only one of these can be true. Again, I'm reading from the article. These are not my claims. What happened to the $290,000 in sublet rental income? What happened to the $290,000 in sublet rent income? Well, Media Matters didn't report any sublet rental income to the IRS in 2014. The IRS provides two options in regard to reporting sublet rental income. One, report sublet rental income as program service revenue, or two, report rental income as gross rents. As we can see below, Media Matters reported $0 in both fields in their 2014 IRS Form 990. And if you want to see this again, it is right over on the Citizens Audit. How much did Media Matters really pay for occupancy? This is the most likely scenario. Media Matters' total occupancy expenses for 2014 were $924,454. David Brock and allies pocketed the $290,000 in sublet rental income for personal use. Why is this the most likely scenario? $1,214,454 is an unrealistic amount for occupancy expenses in the building Media Matters operates out of. 455 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest is a 12-floor, 242,366 square feet office building. This amounts to an average of 20,197 square feet per floor. The General Services Administration, a government organization, signed a 10-year lease in 2009 for the entire fifth floor of 455 Massachusetts Avenue, 22,432 square feet. GSA's lease for the fifth floor is $942,021 per year. The lease agreement makes no mention of an escalation clause and includes operating expenses and real estate taxes. Also in 2009, Media Matters signed a 10-year lease for the entire sixth floor of 455 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest. However, they claim to spend a lot more in rent than GSA. Furthermore, Media Matters specifies that this amount does not include operating expenses and real estate taxes. Media Matters is paying a lot more than GSA for rent, despite the fact they operate in the same building and lease the same amount of floor space. It just doesn't make sense. Media Matters pays over $270,000 more than GSA, despite the fact that both organizations own the same amount of floor space, and Media Matters' lease doesn't include operating expenses and real estate taxes. Media Matters is paying so much more, yet getting so much less than GSA. It doesn't add up. Unless Media Matters can produce a lease agreement for our review, it's safe to assume that their lease is comparable to GSA's at around $924,000 per year. And I'll just remind viewers here, we're not talking about a discrepancy of a few $1,000s or some kind of minor clerical error. We're talking about more than $1 million netted, according to this website, according to the Citizens Audit, over a relatively short period of time. The article continues, what is Media Matters doing with the sublet rent income? It appears that Media Matters is being truthful to the IRS when it claims its 2014 occupancy expenses were $924,454. But Media Matters is lying to the IRS when they claim to collect $0 in sublet rent income in 2014. Make no mistake, Media Matters is receiving rental payments. Here's a rent payment from American Bridge 21st Century to Media Matters in 2014. Media Matters is artificially increasing occupancy expenses in its financial statements, then buying down by netting sublet rent income. But IRS instructions prohibit organizations from buying down occupancy expenses by netting sublet rent income. The truth is, David Brock and his allies are most likely pocketing the sublet rent income for their own personal use. Again, these are the claims of the Citizens Audit. These are not my personal claims. This is not my personal research. And these are not the claims of this YouTube channel. How much has David Brock and his allies pocketed through this scheme? Every year since 2010, Media Matters has reported $0 to the IRS in sublet rent income. but Media Matters reports a significant amount of sublet rent income in their financial statements. And you can see here, 2010, $115,000, 2011, $193,000, 2012, $237,500, 2013, $217,000, 2014, $290,000. So a total of $1,052,500 in sublet rent income hidden from the IRS. See for yourself by comparing Media Matters IRS Form 990s and their financial statements found in Massachusetts Nonprofit Document Search Database. The article continues, how do we know for sure Media Matters is being dishonest? American Bridge 21st Century sublet office space from the American College of Preventive Medicine in early 2014. The ACPM operates out of the second floor of 455 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest and collected $8,920 in sublet rent payments from American Bridge in 2014. In its 2014 IRS Form 990, the ACPM demonstrates how to correctly report sublet rental income. This is the final nail in the coffin for Media Matters. They have no wiggle room left. It should be clear now that Media Matters is lying to the IRS by failing to report sublet rent income. The article continues, birds of a feather flock together. From 2010 to 2014, financial statements show that Media Matters received $1,052,500 in sublet rental income from related organizations. From 2010 to 2014, Media Matters reported $0 in sublet rental income to the IRS in their annual Form 990s. This situation is strikingly similar to how Al Capone was convicted of income tax evasion. Al Capone was hiding income from the IRS. Media Matters is hiding income from the IRS. It's that simple. The article finishes, what's next? Please share this report and consider signing our petition to the Department of Justice to investigate David Brock's Media Matters for America. Editor's note, if you wish to repost this report on your site, please do so. All I ask is that you provide credit and link back to this report. Well, we are certainly linking back to you, and you have been credited. This is from the Citizens Audit. So not only is there a petition, I want to remind my viewers again, not to be cheeky, but it is my understanding that Donald Trump's IRS, in an attempt to increase efficiency and reduce fraud, will pay a sizable bounty to anyone who provides information leading to the IRS being able to obtain or seize or recover funds which have not been duly paid to the IRS. Thank you guys so much for watching, and there's just one more thing I wanted to add, and that is another connection that David Brock has to the Pizzagate scandal. So David Brock was the former boyfriend of James Alefantis, who is the owner of Comet Pizza and Ping Pong. That's correct. He is the former boyfriend, the former lover of the man who owns the restaurant that, at least according to the mainstream media, is at the center of the Pizzagate scandal. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and stay tuned for more.